गुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातं हम वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं। जय गुरुदेव। Hare Krishna, thank you very much. We are doing Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, and we'll be starting our conference by Shlok 11 today. We did the first 10 shlokas of this chapter. So please repeat after me. Shri Bhagavan Vacha,
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Ashocyan Anvasocastvam प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाससे
प्रज्ञावादां
गतासून अगतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडितः
नानु शोचन्ति पंडिता।
Okay, anybody available for reading the translation?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead."
Thank you. So now Krishna is actually starting to speak, and he'll speak a few shlokas. Prior to this, it was more like interrupted, having a conversation, but now Krishna will be speaking to Arjun, and in this particular section, he will be revealing the knowledge of the soul, Atma Gyan, also called as section where there is analysis of soul and the body, so technically called as Sankhya. So Krishna is saying that you are speaking like a pandit, panditaha, but the content of your speech is not like a very elevated. Now Arjuna was speaking very elevated words, but Krishna is speaking those words which are even higher than that. So Krishna is saying, you're speaking for what is not worthy of grief. So we'll read the purport and we'll discuss it more. So who would like to read the purport?
The Lord at once took the position of a teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, "You are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of body, neither in the living nor the dead condition." As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. But he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause of lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for reading. So here Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna took this position which Arjuna wanted him to take. And what was the position? Position of a mentor, guide and teacher. So teacher, sometimes they encourage, they say words which are encouraging. And sometimes the teacher may even chastise the student, may scold the student for things which need to be improved upon or which are not good to be done. So here Krishna is taking that role of a teacher, and based upon how Krishna and Arjuna are sharing this relationship, Krishna acts in that way. Ye yathamam prapadyante tam sthataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna says that I approach other people based upon how, sorry, I reciprocate with other people based upon how they approach me. So Arjuna is approaching him as his disciple. Krishna is taking that role and teaching him like a student, like a teacher, and Arjuna as a student. And in this particular shloka, Krishna is very honest and blunt. He's saying, you're actually acting like a pandita, speaking all this, but this is not very advanced knowledge. This is not the words of pandita, otherwise you won't be lamenting, because those who are learned, they don't lament like this. So Arjuna needs to know the signs of the body and the soul, which Krishna will be explaining further. And in this particular purport, Prabhupada is saying Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and supreme is even more important than religious formulary. So Arjuna was saying, don't stay at this level, come to this level. Krishna is saying, not just this, go to the highest level. Krishna is taking him to the highest level. So Arjuna, even though was very advanced, but in this particular situation, he was not speaking like an advanced personality. Otherwise, he won't be lamenting. And Krishna will give the signs now. Prabhupada is explaining here, the body is born and destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as soul. So this will be a repeated thing to keep in mind, that soul cannot be neglected. People think the body is very important, which it is, but soul is much more important. In front of soul, the body is not as important, but the soul is more important. And mostly our steps are only towards the body. So if we stay only to satisfy the body, that is actually not going to be the real benefit for us. Our real benefit is to consider both body and soul and take care of both of them. And Prabhupada ends this purport by saying, one who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause of lamentation regardless of the condition of material body. So if Arjun would have been learned, he would not have been lamenting like this. So this is how Krishna is starting. Krishna shares that relationship with Arjun, that he knows when to encourage Arjun and when to kind of chastise or scold him, or even make a comment to Arjun which will actually have a positive impact, even though it may be sarcastic. So this is how when you share a certain relationship, you can act in that relationship, but your intention should be to bond and bring those bonds of relationship stronger and closer. So we'll continue to read. Anybody has any questions from this shloka? Krishna has just started to speak. Okay, we'll go to the next one. 2.12. Please repeat after me. Natva evaham jatu nasham. Natvam neme janadipaha.
Na tvam neme janadipa.
Na chaiva na bhavishyamaha.
Na chaiva na bhavishyama.
Sarve vayamatah param.
Sarve vayam ataparam.
Okay, any volunteers who would like to read the translation?
I can read.
Please.
Translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in Sweta Swatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly person who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace.
I take it.
Neo-Nityanam.
I can take this.
Okay.
नित्यनित्यानां चेतनश्चेतनानाम् एको बहुनां यो विदधाति कामान् तम् आत्मस्थं ये नुपश्यन्ति धीरास् तेषां शान्ति शाश्वती नेतरेषाम्. Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. You want to continue?
Yes. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Individual Person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. They individually existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone.
Okay, so let's hold here for a minute. So this is a long paragraph and long purport in general. So we'll just see what Krishna has spoken so far in this. So Krishna first said, you are speaking like a learned person, but you are actually not very learned. And therefore, you're speaking like a learned person, but the content of your speech is not very advanced. And therefore, this indicates already that Arjuna is missing some point. And Krishna starts making this by the very first point. He's saying that all living entities are eternal. All living entities, they are individual, and their individuality is also eternal. ऐसा कभी भी नहीं हुआ. Never was there time when I did not exist, or you did not exist, or any of these did not exist. So if somebody says, okay, when did soul come into existence? That time never happened. That time never happened when soul did not exist. And since there was never a time when soul did not exist, so Arjuna must understand that all these kings and Krishna and Arjun, they are eternal. Never was there a time, or never will there be a time when they cease to be. They are not going to get affected by death, and they are not going to die. So never was there time when the souls were not there, and there never will be a time when the souls will actually die. So even if the body goes, the soul remain and goes to another body. So here in the purport, Prabhupada is quoting two Upanishads, very, very famous Upanishad, Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvara Upanishad. And Prabhupada is quoting by saying that Supreme Lord is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in different terms of their different situations according to the individual work and reaction of work. So basically, Lord is providing to everybody from a small ant who needs, very small, and a huge elephant or a blue whale who takes huge amount of food. Lord is providing for every single. He is the maintainer. He's maintaining all of us. Even for a fraction of a minute, if we don't have air to breathe, it will be such a miserable situation. And who's maintaining? The Lord is maintaining. And it is mentioned here, Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. So Supreme Lord is alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. So Supreme Lord is there in everyone's heart, and if we are actually at the level, it says saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to the perfect and eternal peace. So if we can achieve to this level, then we can see. And in Katha Upanishad, there is a statement, a shloka, which is quoted here. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. That nitya means eternal. There are so many eternals. Out of them, one is prominent. There are so many conscious beings. Out of them, one is prominent. What is that one? That is the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada is further quoting that same Vedic truth given to Arjun is given to all persons in the world who may pose themselves as very learned but don't really have good amount of knowledge. Krishna is saying this whole science for the benefit of every living entity. And here Krishna is saying that he himself, Arjun, and all kings who have assembled on the battlefield are eternally living beings, and Lord is maintainer of all, and Lord is also eternal. And Lord is not saying that they are eternal living beings, but their individuality is there right now, but it will go away in future. What does it mean, individuality? Individuality means they are person, they are being, they are distinct living entities. It's not that after death the soul is going to merge with the super soul. Some people think like this. They feel, and this is an important concept, that some people think that moksha means when Atma and Paramatma merge, when Brahman, we merge with Brahman, Nirakar Brahman existing everywhere, and then we actually have the same properties as Brahman or God, and we are the controllers. But this is not really what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. This is not what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying that your individuality remains, and this is what is there in the last paragraph. So I'll read this paragraph. Here Prabhupada is saying, Mayavadi theory that after liberation individual souls separated by the covering of Maya or illusion will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority. So I'll give you an example. Just like you have some matka. Let's say you have a matka and that's empty. So it has air inside it, right? And let's say if you close this matka, now the air inside and air is there outside everywhere, right? So those who are Mayavadis, or those who think God is energy, He is everywhere, some people or some schools, they have this belief that it is just like this matka having the air which is covered from all everywhere, and the atmosphere having air. So when you break the matka, what happens? The air inside the matka and outside merges, it becomes one. So similarly, they're saying moksha means when you actually break this covering or the cage and you merge with the Brahman. That is what is one school saying. They are impersonalistic class. Means they don't consider that the absolute reality has a personal form also. They believe it is all impersonal. Now, Krishna is actually saying that in future all these living entities will stay as original living entities. It's not that they will ever, even if they get moksha, they will merge. That is not what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying that their individuality will remain. Now, if Mayavadis are saying like this, what does Bhagavad Gita or what does um, our tradition represent? We say that Bhagavad Gita's teachings are very clearly explaining how Krishna says that you, when you get moksha or when you get perfection, you go to my abode, and that will be discussed in subsequent shlokas. So that abode of Krishna is where one goes. It's not that one merges and stays as Brahman, but actually relishes and enjoys spiritual happiness with the Supreme Lord. So that is what is the kingdom of God. So here Prabhupada explains this elaborately, that how those people who believe like merging into Brahman and everything, that is, they are called as Mayavadis, and this theory is Mayavadi theory. Then Prabhupada is saying this statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subjected to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, Krishna would have not stressed it so much. Even for the future, the Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that individuality is material, how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He also confirmed his individuality in many ways, and in an impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in living in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. Okay, so we'll pause here. So, what is Prabhupada making a point? Prabhupada is making a point that Krishna is the supreme. He knows everything. He is beyond the shackles of material nature. There are different ropes or shackles which are making us act in certain manner. Satogun, Rajogun, Tamogun. We will discuss about those in subsequent chapters and shlokas. But here, Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is saying Krishna is not under those shackles. So Krishna, what he is saying is absolutely correct. And he is saying that even in future, the individuality of you, me and these kings remain. And then Prabhupada says that all of us, ordinary living entities, we have four defects. Four defects are, anybody knows what are the four defects which everybody has, all the living entities, conditioned souls? So one is that we actually have imperfect senses. We trust our senses so much because we are able to perceive reality in certain manner. But the problem is it is not perfect. Even the vision, it can have imperfections, limitations. We cannot see what is too far. We cannot see what is too close to our eyes. We can't see our eyelids because it's too close. We can't see the stars, details of the moon and everything because they're too far. We can't see if it is very small something like microorganisms. We cannot really see everything in the electromagnetic spectrum. We only see a small vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, all those things. We only see these colors, but anything like infrared or ultraviolet, we can't see those. So our eyes are imperfect. Our skin, which is there, that is also not completely perfect to everything, because we can't feel the air. We cannot really hear everything. Certain frequencies are ultrasound, so we can't hear those. We cannot actually accurately see things, and therefore it gives a perception of water in desert, which is called as mirage. So like that, there are so many examples. But we have imperfect senses. Second defect is cheating propensity. There is a cheating propensity going on everywhere. People want to cheat others and sometimes loot others, make money. Sometimes even if they are good people, they'll end up in a situation where there is a tendency for cheating. So imperfect senses, cheating mentality, getting illusioned. Illusion means we see something and we may think, "Arey, I thought this is a snake, but actually it's a rope." So things like that, getting illusion. So like this, there are defects which all human beings have. Based upon these defects, when we are trying to acquire knowledge, we don't get perfect knowledge. But when we get the knowledge by studying the scriptures or hearing the scriptures or learning the scriptures, we get better knowledge. And Krishna does not have these defects. And because Krishna does not have these defects, knowledge coming from Krishna is perfect. So Prabhupada continues by saying, the Gita is above ordinary literature. Ordinary literature is composed by people who have defects, but Krishna is composing Bhagavad Gita, so it is not defective. No mundane books compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord, those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have no bona fide access and they have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotees' approach to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. So here it is mentioned that some people, they are envious, like they don't necessarily want to accept Krishna as God. They are not having this kind of a receptive mindset. They don't have a submissive spirit to hear and understand. They don't want to use their intelligence in trying to understand, but they have envy. Because of envy, the same science which can benefit you, if you are not ready to understand here and you are envious, you will actually find so many reasons of not understanding it. And therefore, such people are compared to like tasting honey from outside the bottle. Licking the outside of the bottle, one cannot get honey. One has to actually dip inside and take out the honey. And that is what those who relish the nectar of Bhagavad Gita, they go deep inside and they are open-minded. They use their intelligence in actually understanding what is being said. without any envy. So here it is mentioned the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. So this is mentioned at different places. One place Krishna says Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha, which means that by bhakti I can be known. Bhakti basically means love for Krishna. As it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book, nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. So Gita cannot be understood who envy Krishna, who don't like Krishna. Like for example, I was talking to one person who who said Bhagavad Gita is good and different things. So we gave Bhagavad Gita for him to read, and he read and he said, too much Krishna Krishna in this book, too much Krishna Krishna. So that means because based upon his old samskars, he has not have the connection with Krishna. He is feeling envy, and therefore he will not be revealed the whole science. Because Krishna gave this science to Arjun. Arjun was his devotee and his friend. So if we are friend of Krishna, devotee of Krishna, then Bhagavad Gita will be revealed to us. Then it said here, Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. Okay, so there are a lot of details in this particular purport and some technicalities, so we'll keep it simple. Basically, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that if one has Mayavadi understanding and Mayavadi philosophy that will merge with the Brahman, then that actually creates an obstacle to one's relation with the Lord. The Lord and devotee have loving relationship. Love is the bonding between two individuals, and the strongest love is the love in this material world is the love which is selflessly loving and caring for others, and that same love is there spiritually also. Like a mother is taking care of a small baby, her own baby she's taking care of because of love. She doesn't get anything from the baby. That's selfless service. So when we have such selfless service attitude with Krishna, then the science of Bhagavad Gita is revealed to us, and then we are able to go much deeper and make most sense of it. So I'll stop here. I think we covered two shlokas, 11th and 12th. 12th had a long purport. We discussed a little bit. I discussed at a very basic level. There are a lot of points which can be brought up, discussed in this, but I'll leave that for future because we will cover some of these points later on. But if anybody has any questions, any comments, any points to share from this shloka, please feel free to share now. Or any questions anybody has. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, I think we'll end here. Thank you very much. We'll get together next weekend. Granth Raj Bhagavad Gita ki